Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Stella Herself podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. As always, thank you for all the love shown this past week and just for all of eternity. I finally, y'all, I've been meaning to do this for so long, but I finally started posting reels and TikToks of clips of my podcast, which was I feel like a missing step to just the podcast experience and creation process. I started posting videos, Instagram videos, but I was like, why am I not doing reels? So I've been just trying to, continually grow the podcast and make it better. It's really come a long ways, even though, obviously it's not perfect, but I feel like I've just, even this past year, come a long way. So thank you so much to you guys for supporting and inspiring me and just interacting with the podcast, for listening, for commenting, for DMing me, your takes on whatever I'm talking about, because I would have no motivation or willpower to keep going and advancing if it wasn't for y'all. And I just want to say, especially after this past weekend, which we got some story times coming in this episode. I just feel all the more grateful for my community, for our community on here. But I just feel so seen and understood for who I really am by you guys. So thank you so much for fucking with me, for allowing me to be myself and do what I love. And I'm just excited to keep going. And yeah, I wouldn't be here without you guys. So thank you. I genuinely just woke up today feeling so grateful because just some bullshit went down this weekend, bro. So we're gonna get into that. But before we get started, this is not a sponsor, but I did just want to give them a little shout out. They're not paying me to say this, but they do pay me when you guys use my code. Summer is here, even though it does not feel like it in LA. It's been 55 degrees. I'm literally wearing a hoodie right now. It rained the other day. It's been windy and cold. I'm bro, it does not feel like summer whatsoever. But summer is officially here. And I know we all like to do outdoor things in the summer. We like to be where it's hot. We like to go swimming. We like to do activities outside. We like to exercise outside. We like to hike. We like to take trips. We like to travel. Some of us like to go to day parties. We like to have those bottomless mimosas sometimes. And for all of these events, it's so important to stay hydrated. What a great read that would be. I just made that up off the top of my head, but what a great ad read if this was one. So what better way to combat dehydration than with a liquid IV? It has electrolytes. They have a whole bunch of different flavors. And what I've been doing is my classic drink when I go out to a bar or whatever is a tequila soda with lime. So what I've been doing is adding half a liquid IV pack to my drink, because it's kind of when people add the Mio drops or whatever to their vodka sodas or tequila sodas just to give it some flavor without the calories. And this is great because it also gives you hydration. So I would really recommend that if you are one to drink, and it really does help. So you can get 25% off with my code stella.ray on their website. I would really recommend checking them out because it's just, they come in such handy. I used to be really big on Pedialyte, but you can't really travel with that. It's just a lot more inconvenient, and then you can't just have it sitting around forever. Whereas these packs, you just get a pack of them and you can just have them. You can throw them in your bag, throw them in your carry-on bag, throw them in your purse when you're going out. They're bomb. They just come in handy so often. So definitely check them out. This is genuinely a product I use all the time, for all of these activities. Definitely use my code so you can get 25% off, help support me and the podcast. You can also get them at Whole Foods and stores like that, but if you want that discount, get them on their website online. Again, this is not sponsored, but I do get a percentage when you guys use that code. So if you want to support, check them out. But yeah, it's just so on brand for me. So I have that beverage, and then I also have a venti iced Americano. It's pretty old by now. Also, fun fact about me, I always do mobile order for Starbucks because I just feel my order is so specific and lengthy to say these days. So I just prefer to type it in, select it in the app and then just go pick it up so I don't have to explain it verbally. And normally the one I go to during the weekdays will be I think because more people are going back in the office these days and stuff, it will be packed. So if I do a mobile order, I need to wait at least 10 minutes to go pick it up. Whereas before in the olden days, I could order it as I was walking to the Starbucks. So now I definitely have to wait. But it's so hit or miss because today I waited a little bit and then I went and mine was the only order and all the ice had melted. So I was can y'all give me more of a heads up? I feel like the pickup time is never accurate. But what I've been getting is venti iced Americano, either half decaf or 2/3 decaf. Today I got half decaf with extra ice, 2 pumps of classic syrup, a splash of oat milk, and light salted caramel cold foam on the top. The salted caramel cold foam is so good. It tastes exactly like real caramel. I think I was telling you guys this in a past podcast, but it does not have a candle taste. It is not overly artificial. It's just like so good. So this, because I just feel like a cold brew is like too much caffeine for me these days. So when I can get like a half decaf Americano or even 2/3 decaf Americano with the cold foam, it's just like the perfect amount of sweetness and like espresso flavor. It's just been really good. So that's my current bev. And yes, I have a straw because all the cold foam is pretty much like gone at this point. And then I also have my regular water bottle. So let me know in a comment below what beverages you have today. So let's just like dive right into these story times, you guys. I feel like on this podcast, I normally talk about specific topics and like not necessarily about my personal life or story times. But I guess I'm just in the mood to switch it up today. But we are going to be talking about love bombing later on as like an official topic, because that kind of got brought up in last week's episode, I think in a comment or something. So I wanted to touch on that today. But let me just like share with you these story times first. I feel like it's the retrograde. It is the retrograde because every time I've tried to go out this past month, honestly, it's just been not a good time. Like, you know, it's not like I go out to meet guys, but even like that, like I haven't met anyone, you know, interesting, not interesting, but just like intriguing. A lot of plans just haven't worked out. I even remember on Cinco de Mayo, my friend and I tried to go to this bar and it was just like it was like a newer bar, but they've been open for a few months. So it's like a restaurant bar. So I assumed like Cinco de Mayo, like it'd be great. And they were just so unorganized and all over the place. And that was at the beginning of the month. So it's just this whole month. Like I feel like every time I've tried to make a social plan, an outing, it's just like gone to shit to some level. So this past weekend was really just the cream of the crop of bullshit. So it started out on Friday. My friend and I decided to do an after work happy hour, which I think is so chic. And let me just say, I want to talk later about like summer vibes, but I feel like one of my summer vibes / rules is just like chic stuff like that. Like I really just prefer going out during the day / early evening. I'm just really on my sleep routine these days, so I just prefer to go out. Like I love a happy hour. Like I think that's so chic. And I think also, I know I've talked about it on here, but I've just been trying to be more intentional with where I spend my time. So if I do want to go out and be around people and be social or like, you know, have a drink or something, I'd rather go to an establishment that's like just a little more, I feel like, grown up. Like I just feel like the club scene, especially in LA and Hollywood, it's just a lot of the same vibe, the same people over and over. Like if you've been to one of them, you've been to all of them pretty much. Like obviously different clubs have different vibes, but it's just like a lot of the guys are the same, and it's just, especially, you know, Hollywood, it's not really for me. So, you know, I would rather go to like a chic restaurant or like a happy hour or sit at the bar of like a nice restaurant, and then you just meet like a whole bunch of different people, and I've just been enjoying that a lot more when I do want to like be out and be social. My step, I think like one of my goals is to try and do that by myself, but I honestly just get scared. But let me know, like, are you one to have a night out by yourself or like evening out? I always see TikToks, and it's always like girls in New York, like they're just like, spend a night out with me. And then she's like, I just happened to start talking to these people. It's very air sign energy. Like that's just not me. But anyway, so we decide to go to a chic happy hour, what we think is going to be a chic happy hour on Friday. And I did already tell this story on Instagram on my story, but I know some people weren't able to catch it, so I'm just going to retell it, and then there's more that I'm going to add on. So we get to this place. I'm going to name drop it. It was Zinc or Zinke in downtown LA. They have a few different locations. I have been to the one on Melrose. I had not been to this one. So we go. It's like super cute inside. Like it's a lot more spacious than I thought. There's people still like working on their laptops, but then they have like a nice bar, and I was seeing they had like a little flyer for like comedy night, and like I was just like, wow, this is like what I want. Like, I would love to come here, get a tea, work on my laptop, or even like get a drink, work on my laptop. Like, that's so cute. And it just had that chic vibe that I'm looking for. There was a couple bartenders, they were cool. Everyone was really nice. So we get a drink, we get our happy hour drink. And we're like there's like one older guy at the bar, like a little further down. And then just like a couple people in the restaurant, like sitting at tables, just like working. Like, it's very cafe type of vibes, or at least it was at this time. We're like having our drink, we're sipping our water. Then a busboy comes and puts his body all the way in between us, in between our two chairs, to fill up our waters, which didn't need to be filled up. I didn't really think anything of it other than like, whoa, like personal space violation. Like, I was just kind of like, whoa, like it was just so sudden. I was like, what? Why is he standing that close to us? Like, why did he have to insert his whole body like in between our bar stools? Like, it was weird. And then also, like, our waters didn't need to be filled up, especially my friends. Like, y'all know me, I will drink my water, but we had pretty much just gotten there. And if we're sitting at the bar, like, I feel like it's the bartender's job to like check in if we need water, not the busboy, and especially not you like inserting your whole body like in between us. Like, it was just, I was like, what the fuck? But whatever. So we just keep chatting and like having our experience, whatever. So a little time goes on. We only have one drink there, so we're not really there for that long. He's walking around the restaurant and he just keeps looking at us and kind of giving us like this creepy smile. And I said this on Instagram, but sometimes, especially in this restaurant kind of scene, like a waiter will hit on you, or like the busboy or whatever, but you can kind of just tell it's harmless. You could just tell it wasn't that vibe. Like, he just had a bad vibe. So he comes back and then he's just calling us beautiful so much in like a bad way. Like, oh, hey, beautiful, you need more water, beautiful. Oh, you guys are so beautiful. And it was just like, again, it was not cute. It was not flirtatious. It was like weird and creepy. And just like his vibe and his facial expressions and the way that he was saying it, it was just like too much. And it's like, why are you coming over here again? We are still on our first drink. Please don't fill up our water. Like, please don't. And then he tries to take my friend's drink and she's not done with it. And she's like, please don't. So that was weird because, again, we're sitting at the bar. Like, I feel like it's the bartender's job to ask for, okay, you're not even a waiter. Like, you're the busboy. So it was just like, I don't know, maybe that has nothing to do with it. And that's just what he always does. He's supposed to check in on people at the bar, but I've never experienced that before. So anyway, we finished our drink. We're like, let's go, because we wanted to go somewhere else after this. We walked to the bathroom, and the bathroom's like down this long hallway. You have to pass the kitchen, and him and I guess his coworker are standing outside the kitchen, and they're just like watching us go by. Like, it literally felt like when you walk past men on the street, they're like sitting down and you're like uncomfortable. And one of them whistles at us as we walk by, and I just kind of like ignored it because I'm just used to ignoring it. Like, if I'm walking down the street, I don't like I'm not one to be like, fuck off, or like I just mind my own business. I pretend like I don't hear him. I keep walking. But this was not the street. This is like a nice establishment. So whatever, we just go to the bathroom, and this bathroom is like not an open concept bathroom, but it's the type where like there's 2 or 3 like stalls, like rooms, like they have an actual door that closes, and then the sink is just like out. So I think there was like a men's and a women's, but the sink area is like for everyone. So we just went right to the mirror. We're like fixing our hair or whatever before we go into a stall. He follows us in there, and he just like comes up so close behind us that I literally am like bracing myself for him to like grab my ass or something. Like, that's what I thought was about to happen. But then he just like goes into the stall right next to us and just kind of like walks in there and like holds it open, and it's just like looking us up and down. Like, I was like, this is like an invitation to join him in the stall. Like, that was the vibe. So creepy. Like, so creepy. Ew. Like, just imagine like if he was a cartoon, he'd be like a rat. Like, like Templeton in Charlotte's Web, and how he just has that like creepy rat facial expression. Like, this was that guy. We're just getting a little more detailed than in my Instagram story because we have the time here. But so my friend and I just look at each other. We're like, ew. And then we go into a stall together because we're fucking scared. No one wants to be out in the open with this predator on the loose. And as soon as we close the door, someone bangs on the door. No one tries to open the door. They just bang on it. So I'm like, if this was like another patron, if you wanted to see if it was open, you'd try to open it first. If you saw it was locked, maybe you'd knock or you'd wait. I'm sure this was the guy. He knew we went in there and he banged on the door to, like, I don't know, be fucking weird. So my friend's like, I'm gonna go yell at him, and she's a lot more confrontational than me, so she opens the door, but he's like vanished. So whatever, I pee and we're like getting ready to leave, and we're just like, should we tell someone? Like, I don't know. And then we're like, I don't want him to get fired. And it's just like, I don't want to be like a Karen. And this is like so fucked because he's literally sexually harassing us. And I'm like, I don't want him to get in trouble. You know, like that's like fucked. Like, why do I think like that? So luckily he's gone. We're like walking back through the hallway. No one's there. We walk out, no one's there. So we're like, okay, like whatever. And then we're walking out and we're like, should we have told someone? Like, I don't know. And just the whole walk back, like I just was so grossed out. Like my whole body was just like disgusted. It was just so creepy. And like, it sucks just because it's also so like, I don't know, normalized. I'm also just the type of person, and I know a lot of other women can relate. Like some women are a lot more confrontational than me. I know this, but I feel like a lot of us, like our instinct is just like to look away, to like not escalate the situation, or it's like, oh, like I don't know what he's gonna do. Like if I tried to, you know, stand up for myself, especially when you are on the street, this probably would have been a safe space to be confrontational because he's at his place of work and like we're customers. So I made my Instagram story time and I tagged them. They never opened it. My friend left a review on Yelp, and we're thinking of like calling or whatever. This is going to go up like a little while after this has happened, so we haven't done it yet. So what do you guys think? Like, what would you have done in that situation? You know, when shit just happens like so fast, you don't even really process, like, not that it's fucked up, but like how you need to react until after. Because like my immediate just like automatic reaction again is just to like not pay him any mind, to like ignore him, which honestly is it's like a good way to go when you're out in public on the street. Like sometimes the best thing is just to mind your own business and to not feed into it. I know there's that recent trend on TikTok of like, you know, when you get catcalled by a man on the street, just like tell them, oh, I don't have any change. And it's like, yeah, that can be funny, but also it's just like, again, you never know like how, especially a random man on the street especially, is going to like take something like that. And for your own like safety, it's just sometimes the best way to like just pretend like you don't hear them and just like, and it sucks because like we should be able to stand up for ourselves, especially when we don't feel safe, but it's just like, you never know. So I don't know, like what do you guys do in situations like that, like on the street or in establishments? Like, should I call them? And then it's also just like, I think I mentioned this in my story, but pretty much I think it was a hostess at the front, but everyone else who worked there was a man. So it's just also like, okay, it's not like he actually touched me, or like, well, it wasn't that bad. And that too is like, it's like, am I gaslighting myself? Because that's also how a lot of women talk themselves out of or make themselves feel guilty for like SA happening. Technically, you know, I said yes at the beginning, or like, well, it's not like he actually did this, or like, oh, it could have been worse. But the truth is, like, if someone actually was respecting you as a human being, like, none of that would have even happened in the first place, you know? It's like, you wouldn't treat someone like that, so why do they think it's okay to treat them to you? And also, I was talking about this with someone on Instagram, but I think she said something like, oh, like, did he actually think those tactics would work? And it just got me thinking, like, I feel like often it's not about genuine interest or like even genuine attraction. I mean, yeah, they're gonna see like, oh, you know, you're pretty, you're hot, you have tits, you have ass, whatever they're thinking. But it's like if someone was actually interested in you, they wouldn't go about it in that way. So therefore, you know, a lot of the time, most of the time, catcalling and behavior like this man exhibited are just very much ways to dominate women and to control us and just to kind of make us feel like threatened and like uneasy and unsafe, you know, because if we felt safe all the time, you know, they wouldn't be able to manipulate us as much. They wouldn't have as much power. The takeaway from this and why I share it is, I guess, number one, don't be afraid to speak up, especially in this situation, because it wasn't on the street or anything. I probably should have said something even to him, like, that's inappropriate, stop. And I feel like I should have at least like told a manager or something right then and there. But I guess also, like, don't beat yourself up for not doing more in a situation like this, or any kind of situation, especially, you know, when a man is trying to intimidate you or make you feel unsafe or uneasy. And even in more extreme cases, you know, it's just so easy to like think later of everything we could have done differently to try to protect ourselves or stand up for ourselves. And the truth is, like, in situations like that where we're suddenly caught off guard or suddenly just feel uncomfortable or unsafe, like, our brain is just going to automatically do what it knows how in order to protect us, you know? So it's not like you're able to just like really sit down and think with my logical brain, like, what would be the best next move for my present and future self. It's like, no, your brain is going into, you know, just automatic like survival mode, like, okay, I just need to get out of this situation, I need to protect myself, I need to be safe, and that's my number one priority. I'm not thinking logically, you know? And that's why so often, like, we freeze, or we just don't know, like, what to even do, you know? So don't beat yourself up for it, because, yeah, I just feel like it's so common. Like, bro, I fucking did it to myself. Like, oh, well, I guess it wasn't that bad, like, nothing really happened, even though I feel, like, so grossed out and just, like, ew, and, like, I never want to go back there again. I'm still like, well, I mean, something worse could have happened, so it's, like, not worth reporting. It's like, no, he's just gonna keep doing that to every woman that goes in there, and making it just, if anything, like, at the least, just a hostile, like, environment. Like, I can't fully relax. From the moment he first came and, like, refilled our waters, I was, like, on alert, you know? Even if, like, it was kind of subtly, it was still just, like, I wasn't able to fully relax and just enjoy my time with my friend. So that was fucked. But yeah, let me know what you would have done. But also, yeah, it's like, don't beat yourself up for like what you could have done in a situation, because, you know, bro, it's just like, it's not always in your complete control, because your logical brain sometimes just like shuts off in that moment. So that was kind of the first, you know, escapade of this weekend. So I hesitated on whether or not I was going to share this, because I feel like, I don't know, I just don't really like to share like too much of my personal life and stuff, and like relationships and things like that. But bro, this was just so not like so fucked up, but just like so annoying that I'm like, you know, at least let me get some content out of this. Have you ever been in like a blind date situation, or like your friend is with their boo and then he's like, oh, I'm gonna bring a friend for your friend? Please remind me to never do no shit like that ever again, because I feel like in general I don't like doing that, because in general I just don't really like being around men, especially men I don't know, and I don't want to commit my time to someone that I don't know. Often it's like a waste of time, but I was like, you know what, fuck it, like, this is how you meet people. If anything, it'll be a story. So I'm third wheeling for like the longest time, and I'm literally about to leave. Like, I'm like, this is awkward, like, I'm by myself pretty much. Like, it was loud in the establishment we were at, and like we weren't able to all really talk as a group because we were sitting at the bar, so it was just like really awkward for me. So I'm just like, I'm gonna leave, guys, like, this has been great, but it hasn't, so let me dip. And they're like, oh no, like, my homeboy is about to come like right now. And I was like, okay. And then he did. My immediate, y'all know how I was talking about, like, you gotta pay attention to your immediate vibe of someone as soon as they are in your presence. My immediate vibe of this dude was like, oh, he's like a fuckboy. Like, I just could feel it. Like, I'm like, he's like a player. Like, he just had that kind of like swag to him. Like, I could just tell. But he was cute. So I was like, whatever, let me just entertain this, whatever. So he's cool. Like, we're chatting. I find out he's a Sag, so, you know, I'm a Leo. So we're just like having like some discourse. And like, especially in a situation like this where I don't know you, I don't like you, in the sense of like, I just don't like you yet, you're not like my crush or anything, I will be 100% myself. Like, I will talk about Jersey Shore. I just like I'm just like, bring all the just quirkiness out, because I want you to know what type of person I am. And like, I'm not just like I'm not just like a pretty face, you know, like, I can talk about deep things like Jersey Shore, and like, I'm gonna use all my little catchphrases. Like, I don't care, because I don't know you. I mean, I feel like in general that I just like to be myself in that way, because it's like, you're either gonna get it or you don't. So I was like, let's not waste our time. I feel like he's finding it amusing, like, whatever. It's not like I'm like, oh, this is horrible and I want to leave. It wasn't awkward. Like, it was just like, whatever. So we decided we're going to go to a second location, and it's kind of like not far, but just like a little out of the way for me. And I'm just thinking in terms of like getting back home. I was like, ugh. But I was like, you know, it's early, it's Friday, let's have some fun. Like, I don't really go out, especially at night. So I was like, fuck it. And it was early. So this man is like driving us. So first, like, major red flag. This is so fucked. Like, who does this? Okay. So I was sitting in the passenger seat. He's driving. My friend and the other guy are in the back. We're going to this like other restaurant type of place. We're going to like grab some food. He's playing music, whatever. I ask him to play this Gunna song. He plays it. And then he hands me his phone to like be DJ. And I was like, oh yeah, I love that. I love being trusted with the aux. So I choose another Gunna song, 25K Jacket. And then I do one other song as play next in Apple Music, in his Apple Music. And it was a Dolph song. So I hand his phone back to him. And 25K Jacket comes on. He skips it. The Dolph song comes on. Literally 2 seconds of the song play, he skips it. And it's not like he's trying to be funny. Like, it's not like he's like, haha, yeah, this is a good joke. Like, he just, like, does that. And I was like, whoa. Like, I feel, okay, this is the thing. Like, he was obviously into me. Just in the sense of, like, he thinks I'm attractive. This is your first time meeting a girl, meeting anyone. I feel like if the roles were reversed, if it was a guy I was interested in, I was driving, and I was like, oh, pick a song. I would play the whole song through, just even if I hated the song, just out of like, to be nice. Like, why would you hand me your aux and you skip both songs? And I only chose 2 songs, and they're good songs. Like, it's not like I'm like this is the type of music he had been playing the whole time. So I'm like, you know, I think about the vibe in the car. I'm like, okay, what fits the mood right now? It's not like he handed me his phone and I'm playing like Justin Bieber. Like, yeah, I wanted to, but like, okay, that's, you know, I'll stick to the current vibes. Like, I'm a good DJ. Like, I can feel the vibes of the situation. Like, play a song that represents it. Skips both songs. So I was just like, whoa. That was, like, very off-putting to me. I would never do that, like, to anyone, to my friend, to my sister. Like, I just wouldn't. Unless it was, like, a really triggering song for some reason, or if it was, like, a super sad song. I'm like, maybe, like, can we have a different vibe? Like, can you choose something else? But, like, I wouldn't just, like, skip. Like, it was, like, comedic how he just didn't even think about it. So, anyway, we get to the second location. He parks. We're walking. My friend and her dude are walking ahead of us. We're walking. And then he just, like, falls back and is, like, texting, I think, on his phone for a while, to the point where I call out my friend's name and they look back, and then me and her start walking together and the boys are in the back, because I'm just like, is he texting like a girl? Like, does he have a girlfriend? Like, it was just weird because he never said like, oh, hold on, I gotta get this, or like, oh, 1 sec. Like, even if he was texting a girl, you could just be like, oh, 1 sec, I have to answer this. Like, it's like, I don't know you, but it's just like, it's rude to just fall back and ignore me. And to not walk with me on the street, like, even just as a safety, like, I don't know, like, it was just weird. So we get to the establishment, we get a table, I think, we sit down, and then my friend and I are gonna go to the bathroom, because this whole time, like, we both have to pee, and we've been, like, announcing this, like, oh, we have to pee, so we're like, okay, we're gonna go to the bathroom. And in the bathroom, I'm like, I don't know, like, his vibe is, like, I don't know, like, that was just weird to me. And the thing in the car, like, it's just very rude and, like, not thoughtful. In general, it's just, like, respect, especially when you first meet someone that you're trying to, like, impress. But also, like, I'm a Cancer, Venus, and Mars, and I just like someone who's very thoughtful and caring, okay? So I already know, like, this is a no for me. You blew it already. So we get back, and his vibe is just, like, completely changed. Like, and I think it started when we were walking and he kind of fell back. Like, I don't know what happened, but, like, ever since that point, his vibe just, like, completely changed. So when we get back, he's like, so are we cool? Like, is everyone friends? And I was like, what? Where did this come from? Like, what? I was like, yeah, what do you mean? Like, and I'm just, like, acting normal, because, again, like, it's not an unpleasant time. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna eat, but then I'm gonna go home. Like, you know, I will spend this time. Like, it's a funny memory me and my friend will share, but it's not like he was so horrible and rude I was gonna, like, leave right then and there. Maybe I should have, but so then we're, like, all four sitting at a table. And the music that they were playing at this place was just, like, this was, like, not the vibe. They should have let me DJ to this event. But it was just, like, I don't even want to say electronic music, because that makes it sound better than it was. It's just so not, like, my vibe, and I think none of these people's vibes of who I was with. Electronic pop remixes, like, of hip-hop songs. It was weird, and it wasn't just, like, oh, not my vibe. It was just, like, not really good. Like, if you're gonna play pop, like, just play pop. Or if you're gonna play electronic music, just play electronic music. Or if you're gonna play hip-hop, just play hip-hop. Like, it was just this weird fusion, and it was just, like, weird. Like, it reminded me of, like, being in a grocery store when they're playing, like, saxophone covers of, like, Bruno Mars songs. Like, it wasn't exactly that, but that was kind of, like, what it reminded me of. So my friend is just being funny. Like, we both like to just, like, laugh and be silly. So she's, like, dancing sillily to this bad music, and I'm, like, we're looking at each other and just, like, laughing and, like, haha. And the guy is, like, I know you guys are, like, what are you guys saying? I know you're having a secret conversation. I can tell just by how you're looking at each other. And we're like, dude, because the thing is, we're not. Like, we're like, oh, this is such a funny situation. It was just like, he got so weird and insecure, and it was just like, why? This was, like, the best part to me. So it goes on, and, you know, him and I are still, like, chatting, and it's weird because he's, like, showing interest in me, like, oh, like, what kind of guys do you like, what's your type, asking me questions like that, or like, I know you get hit on a lot, like, you know, okay, whatever. But then, like, saying weird, insecure things like that, and just also kind of being, like, rude. So we all eat. It's, like, fine. It was not, like, an overall unpleasant vibe at this table or anything. Like, it was not awkward. It was just, like, I'm kind of noticing these little things from this guy. So my friend and her dude are talking about going somewhere else. And then this guy, the guy, like, I was with, was like, oh, I should probably, like, just to me, not, like, announcing to everyone, was like, oh, I should probably, like, drive you guys back, huh? Like, I think he thinks we all, like, live in the same area or something, like, where we started. And I was like, oh, no, you don't have to do that. And then I'm like, why is he trying to cut the evening short? Like, they were just talking about going, like, somewhere else because it's, like, still early. But he's like, oh, I should probably take you guys back. I'm like, is he not feeling me? Like, why did his vibe change so much? It was so weird. So then my friend and I go to the bathroom again because we're, like, trying to... we're about to leave, basically. Like, we're trying to figure out what the plan is. And I'm like, dude, I don't know. Like, I'm just getting a weird vibe from him. His vibe really changed, so I think I'm just gonna go home. And she's like, okay, I wish you would stay. But I was like, no, like, you and your dude should go have a little date night, whatever. Like, you guys should keep hanging out, but, like, I don't think this is gonna work out with me and this guy. And this guy, again, is like, do you want me to drive you home? Like, I should probably drive you home, right? And I was like, no, you don't have to. And he's like, well, I'm just gonna see how long it's gonna take. Because I'm thinking two things. Number one, I don't want him to drive me home, especially if it's just gonna be me. Because I knew where he lived. And it was like where we were was kind of right in the middle of both of, like, our neighborhoods. So he would have to backtrack to drive me home. So I'm just thinking, like, first of all, it's out of the way for him. So, like, no, you don't need to do that. Also, it's just, like, I don't want you to go out of your way and then expect something in return for this. Like, oh, I just want to be a nice guy doing you a favor by driving you home. So I'm, like, trying to be nice by saving you the gas. And then also, like, I don't want you to expect anything from me. So let me just not put myself in that situation. So he turns and, like, checks how long it's gonna take. And then he's like, well, yeah, you should probably just Uber. I'm like, bro, are you fucking kidding me? Like, it was so weird. And I was like, yeah, that's what I said. I said that was fine. I never asked you. I didn't say this, but I'm just like, bro, I never asked you to drive me. Like, and so how are you gonna offer something and then be like, oh, no, yeah, you should probably just Uber? Like, it was so weird. And it was just such, like, mixed messages, because to me that's like, you're not interested in me, you want to cut the night short, but then you're also, like, telling me all this stuff like, oh yeah, like, oh, you're so cute, do you think I'm cute? Like, so it's like what happened? Why did his vibe change so randomly in the middle? Like, I don't know. So I right then and there, like, request my Uber, and I was like, well, it said 2 minutes, so I was like, thank God, because sometimes these days they, like, take a while to come. So I'm like, okay, bye guys, like, come on. And my friend's like, oh, we'll walk you to it. And I was like, okay. The guy's like, oh, are you the type to ghost? Like, are you gonna text me? And I was like, oh, for sure. Yeah, great, we'll talk soon. I was, like, so happy to leave. So that was that. And then I was like, I don't think he's gonna text me. Bro, he fucking texted me the next day, hey, what's up? Because he was like, oh, can I at least, like, at the end, like, can I at least get your number or something? So it's like, are you interested or are you not? Like, my thought was like, oh, does he have another date after this? Which would be fine, but it's just like, you could just go about this in such a nicer, smoother, classier way that wouldn't leave me feeling just confused and like, you're not into me, or like, you are into me, but you're, like, insecure, or like, I don't know. I never replied, sorry to ghost, but you were rude and weird and, like, ew. And like I said, I got fuckboy vibes from the start, even before he did anything. That was just my immediate kind of, like, reaction of him. So that was, like, fucked. Like, I wasn't, like, upset or anything, but I was just like, that was so weird. Like, I'm just used sorry, but I'm just used to guys, especially in a situation like that where we just met, they're obviously interested in me, just being like so nice and like gentlemanly and courteous and respectful, you know, like not men as a whole, obviously, what we can tell from that busboy, but just like a guy that's like interested in that situation. So there was that. And then on Sunday, that also was just like a bad time. People were being really just weird. And then this girl was like so rude to me to where I left after that too. So it was just a weekend of me like leaving places early and being grossed out by people. And I was like, bro, I don't even want to be out right now. Like, and it's just like, I know it's not me because this so rarely happens to me. Like, I just feel like to a certain extent, you do attract the vibes you put out there. And y'all know me. I am a very like on my good vibes type of person, especially when I go out. Like, I go out to have fun, to enjoy myself. I'm not the type of person that goes around looking for trouble or that's rude to people or like, I don't have a resting bitch face. Like, it's just very like rare for like me to experience so many weird things like in one weekend or in a row. I really think it's just Mercury retrograde, but I know Mars wasn't even in Aries yet, but there must have been something going on that weekend because it was just like one thing after another and it was just so bizarre. So and on top of that too, maybe this has something to do with it, but like I said, it's been like cold here. And it's like, I feel like people are kind of like, okay, like it's been cloudy every morning. It's cloudy today. It's been cold. It rained a little bit on Friday. Like, it's just like, are we back in February, March? Like, that's how it feels. So maybe people are just like, that's throwing them off. Like, I don't know. But I'm like, bro, I've literally had enough. Like, I'm so glad now that it's just like a work week and I can just mind my business in the house and like not be around so many people like that. Because it was just like, what the fuck? So the moral of the story is to leave. Like, just leave. There's so many times in the past where like I stuck something out because I wanted to be a good friend, or I'm like, okay, well, this isn't horrible, like, or oh, like, I don't know, it just feels too early to go home. But it's like, bro, if the vibes are off, leave, because you could be saving your life, seriously, or just, you know, saving yourself from an awkward interaction or just like unpleasantness. And it's like, bro, like, especially if you're out, you know, at a bar or something, it's like you could just be saving money, saving time, saving your health by going home, drinking some water, and going to bed. Like, I honestly should have left earlier on Friday the first time. Even though like it wasn't horrible, but it was just like weird. Like, I didn't have to go through this, bro. Also, I think another tip and takeaway is like, I feel like in the past when I have felt uncomfortable or just like awkward or like the vibes are off, instead of like leaving and exiting the situation, like I'll just like have another drink and it's like, okay, now I'm not paying as much attention to like the vibes. But it's like, instead you could just like leave. And I think on Sunday too, what helped me leave was that I stopped drinking and I was just like, I was drinking so much water because I just knew I wanted to wake up Monday like feeling good. Like, I wanted to go out, I wanted to pop out, kind of wish I hadn't, but like I'm like, bro, like, I don't want to stay out late. Like, I don't want to drink too much. Like, I want to have a good time, but just, like, responsibly. So I started drinking so much water, and I just got so much more aware, you know, of the vibes around me, the rude vibes, the off vibes, than if I had continued drinking. And, you know, I've heard people say, like, especially people who are sober, or even, you know, if you just, like, go out and don't drink. When you drink, it's, like, there's still weird vibes and awkward shit, but you just aren't aware of it or you don't remember it. But when you don't drink, you're so much more aware of everything going on, which can sometimes feel so uncomfortable and awkward and just like, ew, why am I here? But then it's like you're making better decisions because you can actually react appropriately to everything that's going on around you, and you fully remember everything. So it's like you're just more in control of the situation, even though you have to fully feel everything embarrassing and awkward happening. It's like, at least I'm not making bad decisions because these vibes were still going on before I was just like drunk. So yeah, use your liquid IV and drink one water in between each drink and put this in your tequila soda, okay? So I cannot wait for Mercury to be out of retrograde. It goes out of retrograde June 2nd. So we only have 1 week left, guys. We can do it. Let's just really focus on like what we've learned over the past month and like reflections and journaling and like, you know, not stepping out if we don't have to. So now I want to talk about love bombing because I feel like that's something that a lot of us go through, have experienced, and I feel like it's also one of those things that is talked about quite a bit at least if you're on certain parts of TikTok or the internet. But it's still something that can be so hard to recognize when you're actually experiencing it. And especially because it is summer coming up, if you're single, bitch, we're going to be outside a little bit, like we're going to have fun. So before you get caught up in a summer romance with a narcissist, let's just make sure we have some handy-dandy tools to decipher whether or not we're being love bombed. So this is from the Millennial Therapist on Instagram. 13 signs of love bombing. They make grand romantic gestures / give extravagant gifts. They always compliment you. They promote excessive communication. They request constant attention. They demand commitment. They resist your boundaries. They make soulmate claims. They say, I love you very quickly. They're good at saying what you want to hear. They feel too good to be true. They make you feel like you're being saved. They make immediate promises about the future, and they put you on a pedestal. This is from bonobology.com. Signs you're dating a love bomber. They'll shower you with gifts to win you over. You'll have little to no privacy. They want to know everything to a creepy extent. They need commitment now. Your boundaries won't exist for them. They'll be intensely in love and proud of it. You'll be gaslighted. You'll be gaslit. Why would they say gaslighted? They'll zap away your confidence. They'll have unreasonable demands. The relationship will be a whirlwind of emotions. They'll target your insecurities, and everything's always about them. So I found this article, as I do, from verywellhealth.com, which as always, I will link down below. I really like this article because I feel like usually when love bombing is discussed, it's usually a sign of a narcissist. And this article said that there's actually 2 major reasons why people love bomb. Because of a conscious desire to manipulate, or due to unconscious or unresolved attachment patterns formed over past relationships. The desire to manipulate others can be a sign of narcissistic personality disorder. NPD patterns are characterized by a cycle of feeling truly better or more deserving than others, regularly seeking admiration and then hurting others without fully grasping one's impact or feeling remorseful. There's no standard treatment for NPD, but it is often diagnosed alongside other disorders such as depression. Many people who love bomb are narcissists who are looking to control their victim. They form a close bond quickly, often choosing people who have codependent tendencies or who seem vulnerable and inviting of a savior. Then they will start to take control once they know there's an attachment. This just reminded me of that trend. Maybe you actually relate to this, but I feel like I've seen this since the beginning of time, as in I used to see this back on Tumblr and now I will see it on TikTok. But just that theory some girls have, or, statements like, oh, you attract these controlling, manipulating men because you just have healing vibes and you're just such a healer that you attract all these broken people. When, okay, maybe that's true, but I feel like often it's a sign that, and I myself have experienced this, usually it's just a sign that you have trouble in setting boundaries or sticking to boundaries, and or you have codependent tendencies, and like this article says, seem vulnerable and inviting of a savior. A narcissist is more likely to choose the person with codependency issues and someone who doesn't have strong boundaries over someone who is secure, who has a strong sense of self, a strong sense of boundaries, who will stick to those boundaries, because that's not very fun. You can't really manipulate someone who's not going to, I don't want to say not allow you to, because it's not like it's the person's fault for, being a victim to a narcissist or to love bombing or whatever. But I guess I say that without meaning that, It's important to remember that not all people who love bomb have NPD. Sometimes love bombing comes from a place of unresolved pain and conflict. Our attachment style, which, I love talking about attachment styles, which describes behavior patterns in relationships and how conscious we are of it, can drive us. For example, and I really relate to this in friendships, or I have experienced this in friendships. For example, someone with an insecure attachment style may love bomb in order to secure their relationship quickly out of fear the partner will abandon them. The problem is, love bombing may overwhelm a partner and push them away, leading to sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. On the other hand, someone with a more avoidant attachment style may love bomb in order to feel in control over the level of intimacy. But once the partner reciprocates, they may feel overwhelmed by the closeness. Then they may begin to resent them or push them away, leading to what Steele calls the flip side of love bombing, ghosting. I feel like I've definitely experienced this in friendships, like that's the first thing that really comes to mind for me as far as the insecure attachment style. Like, do you ever start hanging out with someone a little more regularly? Maybe you feel like you're getting a little closer, but it's just like they're too much. Like, they're calling you their best friend already. They're saying all these things of like, oh, we need to travel here together and do this together and that. And it's just like, it's nothing bad, but it just doesn't really fit the level or the closeness that you guys actually are. And often that can just feel like, oh, this is like too much. You know, I feel like especially in a friendship when there's not that romantic aspect involved, it's just usually like, this is too much. And it's not like the person is necessarily trying to manipulate you or doing this out of like, oh, you're my victim, but it's just like, this is how they think they're going to like secure their bond with you. This is how they think they're going to keep you around, when really it has the opposite effect, because it's too much. It's not natural. I feel like the best relationships are, both platonic and romantic, are a natural progression of intimacy and closeness, you know, through shared experiences, through vulnerability, opening up to each other. It's not like something you can just force through talking about it, you know? So I guess this is also something to keep in mind for yourself, about your own attachment style. And like, we always talk about being love bombed, but like, have you ever love bombed someone and maybe you didn't know? That also just goes to show like how much our attachment styles and I guess like subconscious beliefs, how much subconscious beliefs affect the reality and I guess trajectory of our relationships, both again, romantic and platonic. And I like what they brought up about the self-fulfilling prophecy, because it's like you kind of think or even subconsciously think that you're doing something to strengthen the bond or the relationship you have with someone, when really you're pushing them away. So until you're able to like uncover these things and kind of realize things about yourself and unpack certain beliefs that may be like really hidden deep down in your mind, you're just going to keep falling into the same patterns over and over. And then that's when it's so easy to think like, what's wrong with me? Like, why do people always leave me? And again, self-fulfilling prophecy, like you're scared of someone abandoning you, so you love bomb them to try to keep them around, but that ends up pushing them away. And then again, you're stuck with the thought of like, oh, I'm going to be abandoned. So very interesting. I feel like this article is very thorough in covering all the different aspects of love bombing, because again, I feel like when we typically talk about it, most of the things I have read about it or videos I've watched are about narcissists and love bombing and looking out for it, especially like when dating men, as a red flag. But it's also just something to keep in mind for like your reasonable relationships, and not like, oh, this grand, not grand in a good way, but like, oh, this like extreme example of like guy that was a narcissist. The love bomber may want to monopolize your time with others. What might follow is an about-face change in personality or level of attention. All of a sudden, this sweet person will become very mean, degrading, and nasty. At that point, it's very hard to get out because you're attached to the person and there is hope that they will return back to their old self and things will be euphoric again. So it's so easy. And I'm sure you can relate if you have been love bombed by someone you're dating. And I feel like that's such a classic example just of abusive relationships. And I think just also a common misconception for just like the average Joe that doesn't really know that much about the psychology of the abused and just the patterns of thought. Obviously, if someone was nasty from the start, or you knew they were manipulative from the start, you wouldn't stick around. And, you know, that's why it's so heartbreaking when you hear people say like, well, why didn't she just leave? It's like, it's not that simple. I'm sure you guys have heard the classic example of the frog in the boiling water. You know, it's like, you don't just throw the frog in the boiling water. You put it in the room temp water and then it slowly gets to a boil. And by the time it's too late, you know, it's too late. And that's just why it's so hard to leave. Like, even in like, you know, an extreme case of an abusive relationship, but then also just like, maybe if it's just someone you're texting, maybe at the beginning, like they would text you good morning every day and were so sweet and like telling you all these things they wanted to do, dates they wanted to take you on. Oh, maybe in the summer, like we can take a trip. They tell you exactly what you want to hear. And therefore you do remain hopeful. So when they start to switch up, it's like, that's why it's so hard to stop talking to someone or to leave that relationship, because you just have that hope. Like, why can't things just be how they were? You know, it's not like they're gonna be this horrible person from the start. Like that, you wouldn't fall for that. You're not dumb. Narcissists are just very smart at what they do. So one way to distinguish between normal affection and love bombing is to keep your eye on the level of intensity. Does this person go back and forth? Do they switch from over-the-top love to pushing you away? It can be helpful to think of a healthy relationship as a set of interactions where both members gradually learn about each other and construct their own rules and language. Another helpful tip for distinguishing between an exciting beginning and love bombing may be to evaluate intention. A healthy relationship beginning comes from a place of giving, and love bombing comes from a place of selfishness. Giving comes from a place of you first, consideration, empathy, respect, and care. Dysfunctional love bombing comes from a me first mentality. So I actually found a TikTok, which is kind of what prompted me thinking about love bombing so much and wanting to talk about it, plus the comment on last week's episode. But it was a really great TikTok of things to say when you think you might be being love bombed. So she's just going to go through 4 different examples.
I love the sound of that, but I'll believe it when I see it. That is a beautiful thought, but we have a lot of getting to know each other before we get there. I appreciate all of your romantic gestures, but what will really win me over is consistency over time. So I'm definitely taking note of all of the nice things that you're doing and saying, but I hope you understand it's for my own self-preservation if I hold back making a decision about you until I get to know you better.
And I think those can be good things to keep in mind or like have in your back pocket for even friendships, because again, like not every love bomber is going to be a narcissist, and some people just have an insecure attachment style, and that's the way that they think they're going to keep you around. So I think saying those things is like a good test. How are they going to react? Because those are all very reasonable statements, and if someone is reasonable, they're going to respect that and maybe like, I don't know, take a step back. Like even if I'm thinking about past relationships with friends where I've kind of sensed like, oh, I don't think at the time I thought, are they love bombing me? But reading this article, I'm like, oh, that's like what they were doing, just because, you know, they had an anxious attachment style or something. And I can imagine saying these things and like, or some of them, and you know, getting a good respectful response back, and maybe them like backing off a little bit, or just like being like, oh, like, you know, I can chill out. Like I can trust that this person and I are going to remain friends, even if I don't do all these over the top things and say all of these things and whatever. Not that that's going to work in every situation, but either way, I do think these phrases are just a great test of, are they love bombing me? Are they going to respect these boundaries or not? This article sums it up very well. A healthy person will say, no problem, I can back off. I want you to feel comfortable. A dysfunctional love bomber will gaslight you and make it your problem. And if someone doesn't respond well to your boundaries, it may not be in your best interest to show them why they're love bombing. You can also acknowledge your own reaction to a love bomb. You might love it, like soaking in it and thinking, of course, I deserve this. Like, oh my God, I finally got the guy I wanted. I finally got the guy that's going to plan dates or offer to take me on a vacation or take me shopping or even text me good morning every day. And then they say, it's hard to turn away a tsunami of attention. If you see yourself love bombing or being love bombed over and over, try talking to a therapist to explore what pain and hurt may be leading you to these patterns. It might also be helpful to find role models and people who have healthy relationships. They end this by saying a good rule of thumb is to let loved ones in on your relationship. They can help you identify patterns from the outside. This is so true, y'all. It is so helpful to have trusted people in your life that you can open up to and that won't embarrass you or make you feel ashamed of like, you know, when something might be off. I feel like for me, like my mom and sister are my go-to people for like, for anything, but especially when it comes to relationships and dating and stuff, like I will always like run stuff past them. And I've definitely had thoughts in the past, like, should I be telling them this much like early on? Like, I don't know, but it's like, no, because if anything, if I am embarrassed to tell them anything, or I feel like I don't want to, it's kind of a sign in myself that something's off, you know? And it's just so important to get that outside feedback. So that doesn't mean, you know, telling your business to everyone, but if you just have a couple people, even one person that you can just kind of be like, what do you think of this? Like, don't treat people in your life as therapists, but just, you know, the outside perspective can be so helpful. And I really feel like, especially as women, that is our superpower, is coming together and like, you know, helping each other out in that way and letting each other know like, no, that's fucked up what he did. And yeah, and obviously therapy is going to be even better because that's like a complete unemotionally involved third party.
But yeah, even just, running something past like a trusted friend, like, oh, is this text like fucked up? Or like, do you think them offering me to take me on a world tour and buy me a Chanel bag in the first day is like too much? Do you think them calling me the love of their life the first day we meet is like too much? Anyway, so yeah, this article was super helpful for me. So I hope you guys got something out of it. I feel like I definitely learned more about love bombing, especially just in that sense of like, it's not always the sign of narcissism. Sometimes it's just the sign of like an insecure attachment style. And there are ways to identify it and to get through it. And yeah, I think, dude, you know what's like so funny is I just kind of realized like as I get older, that like the older I get, the more I believe in / relate / appreciate like, I don't know, posters that teachers would have in their classrooms, or like just like cheesy maybe it's like fucked up for me to call something like this corny, but like the power of like hope or something like that, like hope that one can like overcome patterns in our life, in our subconscious behavior, in our beliefs about ourselves and what's possible. It's like you can change. And it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, you know that to some extent, but then when you really realize like, oh, like if I've been experiencing the same kind of relationship over and over, like it is possible to change that and to be different moving forward. And I guess just like realizing how, at least for me, like how much power I have in changing my life. It's like you just have to want to. And I mean, obviously, like some things are a lot harder than others. Like, and me saying that is not saying that it's an easy process or comfortable or anything like that. But I guess just the hope that it's possible. And I think also just, not that I'm about to start talking about anxiety or anything, but just like y'all know me and my anxiety journey, like just learning so much about it, reading books, trying therapy, etc. Like just the realization that, oh, it's possible to overcome something like this. Like it's not something I have to just like live with forever. It's like there are coping mechanisms, there are things you can do to get past things that you want to change in your life. It's like, yeah, sometimes the word hope just seems so corny. It's like fucked up, but it's like, it's true. Like having hope, like I can change this, and it's going to take hard work and like a lot of like mental breakdowns along the way, but it's like, I can change this. So I will link that article down below, as well as one by the New York Times that I didn't really reference, but if you guys just want to learn more about love bombing, and as always, I would really recommend the book Attached, because it just goes a lot more into the different types of attachment styles, and it just has like worksheets in there, and it's just such a thorough, great book. So if you're curious about it, I would definitely recommend reading that as well. This is kind of like getting to be a long episode, like the camera died on me. So I am going to end this podcast by asking you guys, what are your summer rules? I was going to put this on my story and have people submit stuff, but just saying like, oh, what's your summer rules? Just didn't encompass the right energy. So I'm going to tell you mine. And then like, if you guys can think of a way I can phrase it to put on my story so people can submit them, like, and it will just make sense. Cause like summer rules just sounds like, oh yes, like I shall work out 3 times a week, and like, I don't know, like I want it to be more like fun and flirty and fresh than that, but I just didn't really know how to phrase it. So if you have an idea, let me know. If not, it's cool. But this is the summer vibes / rules for me. Number 1, like we already talked about, just leave. If I'm not fucking with a vibe, if I'm just not feeling it, I'm just gonna go home. Period. Like, and I think in the past, like I just would always want to like just stick it out, just wait and see. But sometimes it's like the best thing is just to leave. Trust your gut. Okay. Try new events and activities. This also goes into what I was saying about, just being mindful of the energy that you're around and the type of people that you want to be around and to attract in your life. And especially, I mean, for friends, but also for dating. Like, bro, you can't keep going to the same little club and expect to meet a different guy than the guys you've already met there, Like, so just trying new stuff like a comedy night, or like just going on Eventbrite and looking for different events, or like, I know, especially in the summer in different cities, like there'll be like night markets, or like just any kind of cute, like, I don't know, like a food vendor event, or just like anything fun like that. Like, not necessarily a farmer's market, but like some kind of vibe like that. Like, something chic, something different. Don't get me wrong, like I love a day party sometimes. Like I love going to brunch, but I just need to switch it up sometimes. And if you're like me, it's just very easy to stay in your routine and go to the same places and do the same shit over and over. So I personally, that's one of my main rules, is just to try different shit. Drink responsibly. So that means drinking a water with each drink, having your liquid IV or some form of electrolyte. I love a liquid IV because you can bring it in the club with you, like, or into the bar, like whatever. Like, it's so great. Don't accept drinks from strangers. If a man wants to buy you a drink, go to the bar with him and watch them pour it and grab it yourself. Cover your drinks. I really do want to get one of those scrunchies that has like a drink cover on it. Don't leave with a random. And hopefully just don't get to the point where you would leave with a random. Just like be safe, dude. And also just put your mental health first. So, you know, as far as like drinking goes and everything, like just don't drink if it's going to make you feel anxious or shitty the next day. Get safe sun, heart, SPF. That's what I wrote. So I don't know about y'all. I feel like most of us will relate. I feel so much better when I am out in the sun. Like even if I just go lay on my roof for like 20 minutes, I feel recharged, but I also feel relaxed and I just feel amazing. So it's important to do that, but of course wear your sunscreen, your face sunscreen, your body sunscreen, a lip sunscreen. I don't know about y'all, my lips always get burned, so I really need to find like a good moisturizing SPF lip balm. I have just been putting my spray Neutrogena sunscreen on my lips and it seems to work, but I just want to get a specific lip sun balm or lip balm. So get safe sun. Especially if you're white like me and will burn in this California closer to the equator sun. So also, I don't know about y'all, but I always bring like, I have like this lightweight cotton towel / blanket. Like it's not really towel material, but it's just kind of this light summer blanket. And I always bring that with me like to the beach or like to the pool or whatever, so I can cover like my face with it or my body. I always wear a hat. So yeah, and you're going to thank yourself when you're older, but definitely use that SPF. Also experiences over things. So especially with COVID, I just feel like I used to travel a lot more and I just haven't over the past couple years. So I really want to like travel this summer if I can. Hopefully I have like a few things in the works. But just putting like experiences and memories over, I don't know, just bullshit that I'm not going to care about in like a year or a few months, you know? Like, you know, I love trying a new makeup or something, but it's like, sometimes it's just not always like what I need. Sometimes I love a Shein haul, but like sometimes you just need to book at the flight instead. So those are kind of my vibes so far. Hopefully this becomes like a list and maybe it'll get to the point where I can categorize the list into more specific things. But let me know what your summer vibes / rules / I don't know are, and let me know if you can think of a way to better phrase that. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Let me know your thoughts on anything we discussed today down below or DM me on Instagram. Don't forget to share this on your story, screenshot it, post it, tag me, I'll repost, or take an aesthetic boomerang or pic of you watching on your TV or listening in your car, or a picture of your scenery on your hot girl walk. I would love to see it. Thank you so much for your support, and I will talk to you next week.